are going to have to stand in this area here this time. You're going to have to be close to this place. What?
Yo, 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 yo. Check, 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 check.
Hey, it's scratching my headset. How about yours?
Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? No.
Check, check, check.
Is it really scratching?
Bogey, bogey.
Scratching for you guys?
That's how. Yeah, but that's how it's gonna be. What? Fortune, I am your father.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, this is the Borat motion picture extravaganza.
Dude, I like can't hear you.
Like, you can't?
I mean, I kind of can.
Scratchy.
Right now?
It may have been better last game. Arguable. At least we have it. Alright. After Thursday night's sleep, Boston 51.3 over Vision Foe, Shaw University. Kudos, hope to do the same. Again, what's the coach's name? Isaac Michigan. So Kudos will do the same. Hey, you don't have the stats. Make sure you. We need the stat. Hey guys, we got it. We got it if they have it. Okay.
That's on you. Go get us. We're not sure you mentioned
Oh, I know.
make sure you mention the time.
I know. Oh, I can see it. No problem with the clip. See, look, watch. I can see it. You can, I can. Watch out. Right on top of that.
You see a straight left up, just push this button twice. Wait till you see someone.
This gets so high. Let's put it on there.
We're gonna have to plug it in over there then, in that one, because it's not gonna reach this fast. Let's put it over there. You gotta turn it off first. I'm not gonna just unplug the thing. It was somewhere around here. Alright, well then we'll just practice over that way.
There you go. Awesome. So here's the plan. When it hits 7, then you guys are going to be on. Okay, just begin speaking, then start out. When it hits 7, the camera will be on them. Okay? While they're speaking for the camera, switch that to like some shots, whatever. Come to you. And then
Where's that feedback coming from?
how about you?
You can't. Yeah, see, like we can't talk. Something's up. Can you hear me now with the band or no? Can you hear me now with the band? Yeah, so I see we can't talk. I mean, they'll be like right there.
Hey, Justin. Justin, the next one is Essentials.
Justin's coming back.
Justin.
And I feel like that's kind of the way it is.
I fixed it now. Yeah, so a minute and 10 seconds.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me? You can hear me. Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. You shook your head. That you knew there was a question there.
Are you guys ready? Awesome. 15,
15 seconds.
13.
Okay. Scott.
Give it 2 seconds before you speak.
Welcome to historic Cameron Indoor Stadium for Duke University men's basketball, presented by Cable 13 and GoDuke.com. Tonight, we will get a second opportunity to watch the Blue Devil team in action. For Thursday night's impressive 51-point victory over Shaw University, the Blue Devil team will attempt to do the same against Henry Dickerson's North Carolina Central University squad. For Alex Hardy and Matt Isles, I'm Scott McKenzie. The Eagles last year finished 10-18 in the CIA Division II Conference. How do you think they stack up today against the Blue Devils' nationally ranked team?
Well, I think once again, the visiting team is going to really have their work cut out for them tonight. They come in here heavily overmatched physically and experience-wise, and I think it's going to be an uphill battle the entire night for NC Central.
You saw what the Duke Blue Devils did to Shaw, and I don't think it's going to be too much of a different storyline tonight. The Eagles come in overmatched, and certainly when you come into Cameron, you have a lot of uphill battles to fight, and the the way that the Duke freshmen played on Thursday, they certainly surprised a lot of people. So that's definitely not going to be a weak link that the North Carolina Central Eagles are going to be able to exploit. We saw John Shire play well. He had 19 points in the game, and he led the whole Duke squad there. So I think the Blue Devils are definitely going to give the Eagles all they can handle.
The Eagles coming off an 85-70 loss to Mountain State this Thursday. The Devils now about to come out on the floor. We're going to go down there for the introductions along with the national anthem.
No.
The NCCU Eagles tonight will start with number 12, Brian Ayala, number 21, Drew Johnson, the points leader for the team last year, averaging 11.4 per game. Number 22, Steve Randolph, number 25, Billy Wilson at forward, and number 32, Jason Hervey at center, 6'9" from Arlington, Texas. Starting for the Duke squad, number 2, Josh McRoberts, sophomore. Number 14, Dave McClure. Number 21, DeMarcus Nelson. Number 30, freshman John Shire, who scored 17 points in the game against Shaw University in the first half. And number 42, Lance Thomas. For a formal introduction, let's go down to the courts. probably going to keep him on because I don't like him. I'm going to keep him on because I don't like it. I feel like that's because I start yelling. Let's talk a little bit about the keys to the game. Let's start off with Central.
I think definitely one of the keys to the game for Central is going to be to take care of the ball. These Duke defenders can really play full court defense the entire 90 feet of the floor, and if you want to come in here to win, you need to minimize the turnovers and make every possession a good possession.
Absolutely. We saw that happen with Shaw in the last game. They gave up too many turnovers, and Duke exploited them. I think also the Eagles are going to have to slow Duke down. They can't allow Duke to get too many easy, fast breaks, and they're going to have to make sure that Duke plays the half-court game, because if they let them come down with those quick 3-on-1s, 3-on-2s, and Josh McRoberts dunks the ball, they're going to find themselves behind early and quick.
Absolutely, and I think the final key for NC Central is going to be that you need to come in here and you need to play to win, because we've seen teams time and time again come in here intimidated and come in here afraid to go for the jugular when they have the chance. And if NC Central gets that chance tonight, they need to take it.
And now if you're the Blue Devils, you're going to have to play strong. Everyone knows that your keys right now are your strength and your athleticism, and you cannot leave those on the bench. You have to bring those out onto the court, you have to get down to the paint, and you have to score with strength and move your body around.
We're underway in Cameron Indoor Stadium. John Shire with the ball. Drives into the lane, kicks it out to McClure. McClure drives in, kicks over to Nelson. Foul on number 22, Steve Randolph, his first foul.
And Matt, you were absolutely right about those keys to the game for Duke, but another key would definitely be the contribution of the freshmen. This Duke team, is very young, very inexperienced, and they're going to need to get a lot of contributions from players like Lance Thomas and John Shire and Gerald Henderson, and of course Brian Zubek once he gets a chance to actually get into the game.
Hounded by number 21 Johnson, knocks it in anyway. David McClure with the first 2 points of the game for the Blue Devils. The Devils open with some full court pressure.
Yeah, absolutely, Scott. This is the kind of pressure that we were talking about. Duke can defend you for the entire length of the court, and they're showing it right here.
The center, number 32, was forced to bring up the ball, but nonetheless, number 21, the star for Central, Drew Johnson, tacked on 2 points for Central. In the corner,
wow.
Thomas throws a bit of an elbow to get on down low, loses the ball out of bounds.
Central's really hounding them, don't you think, Alex?
Yeah, I got to agree. I don't know if I necessarily agree with the no call there that Lance Thomas just got into the hoop, but Central's playing very physical early in this game.
Not playing scared at all. Not playing scared.
Energy. Definitely. Inbounds to McRoberts. Tries to drive on 25. Nice spin move, but misses with the left hand.
Yeah, and number 25, Billy Wilson, is going to have his work cut out for him tonight, trying to defend Josh McRoberts. Bigger, more athletic, and can handle the ball at any point on the basketball court.
2 shots for Josh McRoberts.
Yeah, Alex, not often you see a man of Josh McRoberts' stature who can take it in from the three-point line like that with such poise.
It's dangerous from anywhere, except for the foul line.
Must have heard you.
Knocks down the first one. McRoberts is notorious for poor free throw shooting. However, he knocks down both here.
Looks like you worked on that in the offseason a little bit.
Still coming out with the full court pressure. The center throws an errant pass. Foul on number 25, Billy Wilson, his second. Quickly getting 2 fouls.
Yeah, NC Central has to be careful here not to get into foul trouble too early. We're only a minute and 10 seconds into this game, and they already have 3 fouls called on them.
But you can't fault them for early pressure.
Definitely not.
Nelson to inbound the ball. McRoberts to bring it up for the Devils. 6'11", Josh McRoberts.
We've talked about this before, Alex. The kind of turnstile that the Duke Blue Devils have right now at the point guard position with Greg Paulus out.
Nelson gets the rebound and finishes it with the right hand. Scramble on the floor. McRoberts tries to get a timeout, but a jump ball is called by the referee.
Yeah, Matt, you're absolutely right about the turnstile that the Blue Devils have at point guard. It's going to be very interesting to see how the various players who are going to be put into the point guard position step up to the challenge, because it's not easy to run this Duke offense. There's a lot of motion, a lot of plays that they run, and so far it looks like John Shire has actually stepped into the role and embraced it. At least that's what we saw last game.
Absolutely.
Brian Aiello with the ball, setting up the offense for the Eagles. Double pick set up top, shot from the corner, just inside the 3-point line.
So I'm McClure, I think.
Foul on number 42, Lance Thomas, his first.
You know, we talked about this last game, but what an opportunity for NC Central to come in here now and get some kind of big game experience playing in Cameron in one of the harshest environments in all of sports, quite frankly.
That's right. I mean, the Eagles just 2 days ago were playing Mountain State University. Not quite the same thing as coming into Cameron and playing the 11th ranked Blue Devils. And granted, they lost there 85-70 just 2 days ago, so we'll see how they can stand up to this test.
Jason Hervey keeps the Eagles up with the Devils, only down 2 with 17:50 to go. It's 6-4 Devils. Number 21 drives from the free throw line just a little bit long, but Steve Randolph flies in for the rebound and resets it for the Eagles.
You see an offensive rebound there for the Eagles. Offensive rebounds are one thing that this Blue Devil defense should not be giving up. They're going to be more physical than almost any team that they're going to play the entire season. They need to not give teams second opportunities.
Jason Hervey getting down low against Lance Thomas. McRoberts again bringing up the ball. Tries to do a little too much there. Now it's 3-on-1. But McRoberts check that.
And Shire picks up where he left off.
With a severe block. I don't think the Eagles were necessarily ready for John Shire.
You know, it's interesting. We talk here about how much the Blue Devils are going to miss Greg Paulus. Granted, they certainly will. But John Shire does give you some things that Paulus doesn't necessarily provide. Long arms, great three-point shooter so far.
Air ball by DeMarcus Nelson results in 2 more points for the Eagles. The tie ball game with 16:35 to go at 6.
You're right, though, Alex. Shire's 19 points in Thursday's game is more than Greg Paulus scored in any game last season. So that's definitely an element that he brings to the point guard position that Paulus doesn't.
The ball stripped by number 12, Brian Ayala. Devil ball. Brian Zubek in for the first time. Number 42, Lance Thomas comes out to the cheers of the Cameron Crazies.
Yeah, this is going to be very great to see here. You have McRoberts at 6'10" and Zubek at over 7 feet in your front court. I look to see the Blue Devils run a whole lot of their offense through them.
Although Jason Hervey is 6'9", the next largest player they have on their team is only 6'5". So that's a significant height advantage as McRoberts pulls up from 2 feet behind the arc. Shire may have stepped on the line.
Change that call.
But the referee reverses his own call and gives it to the Blue Devils.
Good play by Shire there as he was going out of bounds. He hit the ball back off the Eagle defender as he was out of bounds. Very good.
Very athletic.
Gerald Henderson comes in for David McClure.
And McClure's a player that it's really good to see him out of a suit, and off the bench this season, because that's all we saw last year. And while he certainly looked good in the suit, it's much better to see him out on the court scoring points for the Blue Devils.
Shire pulls up from the top of the key and knocks it down.
Speaking of scoring points for the Blue Devils, John Shire is not having a slow start after his Thursday big game.
Jeffrey Hensley with the ball, number 4, who recently checked in for the Eagles.
Quite frankly, I was a little worried about how the Blue Devils would pick up the three-point shooting load.
McRoberts slams it home.
That's just pure athleticism.
Josh McRoberts took off from 10 feet away and came down right on top of the basket.
I was worried how the Blue Devils would pick up the three-point scoring load that left last year after you're graduating J.J. Redick, graduating Lee Malchione. These guys were big contributors to three-point shooting for basically their entire careers at Duke. And so far it looks like John Shire is the early candidate to pick up some of that three-point scoring load.
The Devils pull up a 5-point lead, 11-6 with 15:36 to go in the first half.
Alex, one of the keys of the game that we talked about earlier was Central's ability to slow Duke down. They're certainly not being able to do that, and that lends itself to another key, which was taking care of the ball. They've had way too many turnovers in these early minutes, and it's contributed to way too many easy baskets. They're not going to be able to keep up with the Blue Devils if they're just watching McRoberts sprint down the court and dunk on them like that.
But I do think on the series that we saw them play where McRoberts took the three-point shot, obviously that's a shot that you like Duke taking if you're NC Central. You have no complaints with one of their main scoring threats, who's a power forward, standing out and just jacking up threes behind the arc.
Absolutely, Alex. You talked about how Duke's going to be running a lot of offense through McRoberts and Zubek when they're both in the game together. I don't think that's what Coach K had in mind, is having Zubek dish it out to McRoberts behind the arc for a three-pointer. That's definitely not what's going to get the Blue Devils the most points.
Both teams coming out with a lot of energy in the early going. Number 32, the center, Harvey, to inbound the ball. Number 12, Brian Ayala, to bring it up for Central. Shire meets him at half court. Ayala. Out of bounds, last touch by the Blue Devils.
It's those long arms that the Blue Devils have that we talked about, Alex, that they get into passing lanes, and the opponents just don't see it. They think that they have a pass there, and the Blue Devils are getting in the way. And while that one went out of bounds, we have seen Duke be able to bring some of those passes in and turn around for quick, easy baskets on the other end.
Let's talk a little bit about that athleticism.
Yeah, this Blue Devil team is going to look a little different than last year, just because last year's team was predicated on, finesse, three-point shooting, and senior experience. While this year you're younger, but you are more athletic, and clogging the passing lanes is one of those things that the Blue Devils are going to be able to do a lot better this year. Another thing that they can do better is rebound. They're going to be able to win the rebounding category a lot more than they did last year, and that's something important come March, and hopefully come April.
The Duke defense is something that DeMarcus Nelson talked about after the Shaw game on Thursday. He said, I thought we really played well tonight. We wanted to come out and establish ourselves first defensively and contest the passing lanes. That's what we talked about, Alex. And they certainly got good ball pressure, and they just wanted to force them to take some tough shots.
So far in the early going, Duke leads Central 11-6, 15:26 to go. McRoberts early on, the leader in scoring with 4 points on 2 of 2 from the free throw line and 1 of 2 from the field.
From the field, indeed. I believe if I don't have to dig too deep into the memory bank to remember McRoberts' thunderous dunk he just had.
Both teams come back on the floor. 5 minutes into the first half.
And Alex, this is our first look at the Lithuanian sensation, Martynas Pocius. He had a big game. He broke out near the end of the second half against Shaw.
Absolutely, and I look for him to step up and not be afraid to take any three-point shots. And hopefully he can build off the momentum that he had the last game against Shaw, because towards the end of the second half, we saw him find his stroke from the field.
Yeah, he had 8 points in a matter of about 3 minutes there in the second half.
Harvey tried to thread the backdoor pass into number 4, Jeffrey Hansley, but was unable to do so. Off the ball, foul on Gerald Henderson, his first. Harvey took one too many pump fakes and faked himself out.
No excuse for that down low. You're a big man. You should have your post moves down pat. There's no need to shuffle your feet down there.
It's taking care of the ball. That's what we talked about. If Central wants to have a chance in this game, they got to make sure that they take advantage of every single possession they have.
Now, we said that Central needs to slow the ball down, but essentially they're picking their poison, because this Duke team, is going to be able to outrun you. But if you slow the ball down and go in the half-court set, you've got the Twin Towers down low, and McRoberts and Zubak.
Number 12, Ayala, bringing it up for the Eagles.
This player right here, Drew Johnson, is the Eagles' best player, Alex, and if they stop him, Duke will be in good shape.
However, a lot of the offense seems to be going through number 32, Jason Hervey. In this instance, Josh McRoberts called for the foul on the shot. 2 shots, Hervey.
It takes a brave kind of man to go up for a shot when you got both McRoberts and Zubak trying to block you.
Hervey himself 6'9", and a thick 6'9" at that, 270 pounds. Rattles in the first. The Cameron Crazies quiet down to attempt to throw off the shooter. There appears to be a stoppage in play. The ref may be checking on the clock. The ref wants there's a substitution issue. Number 24, Warren Roberson, is coming in for number 4, Jeffrey Hansley.
And Alex, it is early in this game, but if he makes this free throw here, it's a 5-point lead for the Blue Devils. And I don't know about you, but I think this is a much different game than we saw out of Shaw. Central is definitely definitely giving more than Shaw did to the Blue Devils.
The game against Shaw kind of spiraled out of control. In the fairly early going, it was pretty much signed, sealed, delivered by about the 8-minute mark in the first half. And we've seen Central keep it low scoring, and I think that's been a key for them so far.
Poshu's wide open from 3. Keeps it going like from his previous second half against Shaw University. 3 points for the Devils, up their lead to 8 points at 16-8 with 14-13 to go in the first period.
And if Postage can keep this scoring consistency going from that shot and then the end of the Shaw game into the regular season, that's going to be a really big help to the Blue Devils.
Yeah, we've talked about time and time again how this Blue Devil team just does not have the proven three-point shooters that they had last year. That's going to be a big category that I look for them to step it up in this season.
Zubek with a tough turnaround. Finishes it with the soft right hand.
Alex, sometimes I get the feeling that the Blue Devil players can actually hear us sometimes, because we talked about how this was getting kind of close, a little, closer in the Shaw game, and what do? They come down with a quick 5 points to make it a 10-point lead.
No shot. Ayala tries to throw it up to get the foul called on the shot, but it isn't given to him by the referee. The Eagles really appear to not be playing scared.
Certainly not. This is a more athletic team than we saw out of the Shaw Bears, and while the Blue Devils are more athletic, certainly, they are able to keep up with them better than Shaw was.
Henderson scrambles to save the ball into Shire, and now Shire gets it back to Henderson. A little long on the 3, back out to Shire. Again, misses it.
That's one of the nice things about having a 7'1" player at the offensive end. You'll get plenty of second chance opportunities, as we just saw Brian Zubek make an athletic rebound on the miss by Henderson.
A lot of the plays going through Hervey. Number 24, Warren Roberson, gets his first touch of the game. Ayala met by 2 Duke defenders. Back to Roberson. Zubek with the rebound in the outlet pass to Poshus. Poshus makes a nice move.
Oh, wow.
Avoids the attempted charge. Ayala tries to draw the charge, but Poshus just snakes his way around.
And Poshus was a very crafty salesman of that ball fake right there. As he fooled the defender, was able to get around him and bank it in.
You know who wasn't that much of a good actor, though, was the NC Central player who thought he might be able to pull the charge on and falling down when Postage clearly didn't even touch him. That was a great move, very athletic, which is just, an indicator of this whole team's athleticism right there, that play.
20-8. The Devils now lead by 12 with 12:49 to go in the first half. Let's look at the stats so far. The Devils' scoring appears to be a bit more spread out at this point, as 7 players have already gotten into the scoring column, which is something that's always great to see. Led now by Poshus with the 3 and the field goal. Or was it a?
It was a layup.
The nice layup just out here a second ago. Jason Hervey actually leads the way with 4 points for the Central Eagles. Back onto the floor.
Who let Jamal out? Who let Jamal out?
Jamal Boykin in for the first
I
time.
think the camera crazies are wondering the same thing.
Certainly are.
Zubek and McRoberts out. Boykin and Henderson in.
Alex, I think this is going to be a big part of Duke's success this year. Last year, they were criticized a lot for their lack of depth. If the Blue Devils can succeed with Boykin and Thomas in the game and be able to rest their twin towers, like you said, they'll be able to hurt a lot of players, or a lot of teams, rather.
Yeah, definitely.
Shire. Henderson over to Shire. Tries to get it low to Thomas. Boykin on a line. Somehow gets it to drop in. Nothing but net.
Now that's a big shot from Jamal Boykin. It's not going to show up on the stat page, but he just drilled a jumper from about 2 feet inside of the 3-point arc, and that is a shot that we have not seen him make at all last year, or even dare to take.
Absolutely.
He made one of those shots, in fact, last game in the waning moments.
And then he's got the great hands. And while the Blue Devils lose the ball there, that was a great defensive play by Boykin on the other end of the ball.
And how many times have we seen that happen, where a player makes a great play on the offensive end and comes back and continues to contribute, almost feeds off of that momentum that they get from the offensive end.
Official timeout on the floor, 11:43 to go. The Devils 22-8 over the Eagles.
Yeah, Alex, you look at this team, and it's really one that everyone is contributing. There is no star, there is no J.J. Redick and Sheldon Williams, and then role players. Everyone's out here contributing either on the defensive end with rebounds and steals, and then they come down and, like you said, they score and they feed off of each other. And we saw that in the last game against Shaw when 5 players had double-digit scoring. So I think that's something that we're going to definitely see this year is a much more team-oriented scoring.
Today we're really starting to see Josh McRoberts come into his own in terms of leadership. A lot of players looking to him for advice, running the ball through him on offense. Surprising, however, that the oldest player, the oldest captain, DeMarcus Nelson, doesn't seem to be quite as active.
He's certainly more of a lead-by-example type of player. Joshua Roberts has shown in the past that he's much more vocal. He really pumps the team up, and DeMarcus Nelson gets out there and does his job, and people really respect him and follow his example just like that. And they're two different kinds of leaders. They both serve their own purposes, but they're two different kinds of leaders. And when Paulus gets out there and shows his type of leadership, this team's really going to come into its own.
You need both of those types of leadership to be successful, to have a successful NCAA team. Back onto the floor, managers make sure that there are no wet spots. Steve Randolph to inbound the ball. Johnson really has yet to make an impact for the Eagles.
And I don't know if that's so much as a criticism of Johnson or a compliment to DeMarcus Nelson, who's been covering him very tightly tonight. DeMarcus Nelson is going to be a tough defensive assignment for anyone because of his athletic ability and his ability to just shut down a man either on or off the ball.
Johnson held to 2 points on 1 of 3 shooting. Post shoots, drives into the lane and gets met by 2 Central defenders. All 3 parties fall to the floor.
Alex, we said at the beginning of the broadcast that Duke has to play strong in this game. I don't know if there's too much of a larger indicator of strength than Mighty Pushers going into 2 players and knocking them both down.
Acrobatic play by DeMarcus Nelson. He goes down, but he still gets it to post shoes. Shire tries to get the easy lay-in, but is met by number 12, Ayala.
It looked like the only person defending Shire on that play was Lance Thomas as they crossed paths down there in the lane.
2 shots for John Shire.
And when you have a dangerous three-point shooter like John Shire, it's a lot easier to sell the pump fake from beyond the arc and then take it in, as we just saw.
Yeah.
That's 5 team fouls so far for the Eagles. 4 for the Blue Devils. 23-10. The Devils lead with 11:14 to go. Lance Thomas out. McRoberts back in for the Duke squad. Shire knocks down both free throws. 24-10. Blue Devils. Ayala looking to get it to Johnson, but Johnson is hounded.
Remember, Alex, about 3 to 4 minutes ago, this was a 5-point game. Blue Devils certainly have turned it up a notch in the recent minutes and have extended their lead quite handily.
And I think this is going to be a recurring theme with the Blue Devils this year. We've seen points where the offense goes stagnant, but when this offense is clicking, they can definitely score points in bunches.
John Shire playing lockdown defense on Central standout Drew Johnson.
And that's like the personal shot clock violation right there. When you can have your offensive player commit a 5-second violation just by guarding them so closely. And that's just great defense there by DeMarcus Nelson.
Shire runs the offense. Swings it cross court to DeMarcus Nelson, who shows his athletic ability, but instead is called for the charge by the referee.
I don't know if I agree with that.
That is 2 fouls on DeMarcus Nelson. You have to at least give the Eagle player credit for getting himself in good position
Certainly.
to give the ref an opportunity to make that call. The Eagles have changed their strategy and are letting Drew Johnson take the ball up for the point.
I think the Eagles are getting a little frustrated here on the offensive end as They had 6 points with about 2 minutes into this game, and they've only scored 4 since. So they are certainly going to be looking to change things up a little on the offensive end.
Yeah, we talked about it, Alex. This Duke defense is tough to penetrate, and they're long-armed and they're quick, so they're gonna cover you all the way out to the three-point arc. You're not gonna get any easy shots unless you decide to take it all the way from the half-court line. I think that's pretty much the only place where you're gonna get a wide-open shot.
And that's not even just this year. That's a Coach K staple. It's a staple of the program that you play defense hard at every point on the basketball court, and that's how you win. And we've got a few championship banners up in the rafters to prove that.
Johnson knocks in the second shot. 24-12. The Devils up by 12 points with 10:30 to go. McRoberts at the point. Again, surprising to see that he's running the offense, but certainly you never want to question Coach K's decision making.
Well, it's surprising to see a tall man like Josh McRoberts do it, but we've seen throughout his freshman year and now this year that he certainly has the ability to take the ball up and handle the ball. He's a very creative passer, and he can dribble with just about the same skill as the point guard at sometimes. So it's not as surprising when you get to know the personal player that Josh McRoberts is that Coach K would trust him with the rock in such a situation.
Double substitution. DeMarcus Nelson and Jamal Boykin out. Lance Thomas and Gerald Henderson back in the game.
That's kind of surprising to see Coach K take out DeMarcus Nelson right after he just drilled that three-pointer in the corner. You'd think that he'd want to get DeMarcus a little more confidence since he's been struggling here in the early going of this game.
Shire trying to get it into Thomas and does. The turnaround just misses, but the rebound scrambled for. Still fighting for it. Hervey comes down with the ball. Check that. Number 24, Warren Roberson.
And Alex, I love Greg Paulus, but that's another thing that we talked about that John Shire brings to this game that maybe Paulus doesn't, is his ability to get into the rebounding mix. While Duke lost that rebound, you saw his long arms tip that ball for a possible Duke rebound.
Nice pass down low by Robertson. 2 more points for the Eagles, up by 13, but Shire wants to make it 16, a little short.
Yeah, Matt, you're right. But make no mistake about it, Greg Paulus is the point guard of this team, and this team is definitely a better team with him in the lineup. That's no offense to John Shire, but Greg Paulus has proven that he is one of the best distributors in the ACC and, quite frankly, in the nation, as he set the Duke record last year for a freshman with 15 assists in one game.
9 of the 10 players who have been in so far for the Duke Blue Devils have scored at least 2 points. That's something that's great to see, especially only 12 minutes into the first half. That's something you rarely see. Lance Thomas, the only one who hasn't gotten in the scoring column.
It's certainly encouraging to see a team with 27 points altogether and no one over 5 points personally. That's when you know that your team is contributing from all different areas.
Improbable.
But back to what you were saying, Alex, Greg Paulus is not only the point guard of this team, he is the definitive leader of this team. I think when you think Duke basketball, you have to name Greg Paulus. And while Josh McRoberts and DeMarcus Nelson are clearly the other captains and clearly the other leaders, this team is not the same team when it doesn't have Greg Paulus on the court.
Absolutely. Greg Paulus is the quarterback of this team. He played quarterback in high school, so he's quite frankly very familiar with that position. But he's the leader, and he's the one calling the plays out there. And hopefully they can hold the fort together while he's down with his injury.
Certainly his success in high school at both the point guard and quarterback position lends to his leadership abilities, being able to command a team and lead them throughout a game in pressure situations and being able to contribute for his team.
Yeah, and thankfully for the Blue Devils, they do not exactly play a rigorous schedule in the early going. 13 of their first 15 games are at home, and I don't even believe they're against any preseason ranked teams in the first 15.
Georgetown will be the hardest team that the Blue Devils face, but then again, like you said, even though the Hoyas knocked the Blue Devils off last year for their first loss, it will be in the friendly confines of Cameron Indoor, opposed to in Washington, D.C. like last year.
Johnson with the ball for the Eagles. Ayala foul called on number 15, Gerald Henderson, his second. Zubek back in the game. Zubek calls out the only person Not yet in the scoring column for the Devils, Lance Thomas.
And another benefit about having even scoring and even athleticism throughout your entire lineup is that when one player or two players get into foul trouble, you can go to the next man down on the bench. We saw several times last year and 2 years ago when J.J. Redick or Sheldon Williams would get into foul trouble that this Blue Devil team just fell apart. The wheels really came off when J.J. or Sheldon were out of the game with foul trouble late in game situations.
Absolutely. You could see the Cameron Crazies would bite their nails as soon as Sheldon Williams would hit 3 or 4 fouls in the early going of games because the Blue Devils just didn't seem to have an answer for when they would lose a player like that.
McClure wanted the alley-oop, but Henderson lays it up anyway with the right hand. A distant layup.
You want to talk about athletic freshman, Gerald Henderson is the absolute epitome of that. We've seen unbelievable body control from him in midair, basically able to do anything he wants with the basketball. And you can't complain about that out of your freshman.
Interesting stat in the first half. So far, the Blue Devils, who have lately been plagued with free throw accuracy difficulties, are 4 for 4 so far in the early going, and the Central Eagles are 0 for 3. So, when we have a timeout on the floor. 13-point lead for the Duke Blue Devils, 29-16, 7:53 to go.
And certainly another stat you want to look at is how the Blue Devils are shooting the three-point ball fairly well. At almost 40%, that's not a bad clip for the beginning of the game. They haven't taken that many, only taken 8 shots. But to see them knock down 3 is very encouraging, especially getting one apiece from DeMarcus Nelson, John Shire, and of course
Martinez.
Marty Potion.
Yeah, we saw on Thursday, Alex, that Duke certainly had struggled with their three-point shooting. And at one point, I think they had 1 out of 12 maybe. It was dismal. But they picked it up in the second half, and they're certainly bringing it into this game here. And 3 for 8 is definitely a good percentage to have. And if they can extrapolate that throughout the rest of the game, it'll be a good line to have at the end.
And especially for a team like this where not very much is expected in the three-point department, to be able to shoot it at right around near 40% would definitely help their cause throughout the season.
Back into action with 7:53 to go in the first half. The Devils up by 13 points. The Devils come out with number 14 McClure, 55 Zubek, 15 Henderson, 30 Shire, and number 2 Josh McRoberts.
If you want to analyze some more stats, Alex, let's take a look at rebounds. The Blue Devils have doubled NC Central's rebound with 10-5. And if they can keep that up throughout the rest of the game, no team can stick with you if you are bringing down half as many rebounds.
Yeah, and I have a feeling that's going to be a common theme this year. The Blue Devils being able to out-rebound their opponent, physically outmatch them, which we didn't really see them do too much last year. They lost the rebound battle a couple times, and especially in the Sweet 16 loss to LSU, they were just physically manhandled.
Foul.
Good to see that that they can maybe toughen up a little bit this year.
Foul off the ball, number 24, Warren Roberson. 1-1 for Josh McRoberts, who makes the front end of the 1-1 and will now get awarded with the second free throw. McRoberts 3 for 3 on the night from the 4 for 4. Quite impressive.
He has been working at that.
It looks like a much more fluid shot than we've seen in the past.
And that's great. When you have someone who's going to get as many foul shot opportunities as a player like Josh McRoberts, you like to see them with confidence at the line, and knocking down your first 4 will certainly build up that confidence.
Randolph runs out of room, kicks it out to Ayala. The long rebound to Roberson.
You can see, Alex, when the Eagles penetrate into the lane that the Blue Devils collapse around them and that they're suffocated. They can't get the ball either up to the basket or even out to one of their opponents. It's difficult when they collapse around you like that and take away your passing lanes.
The Eagles really have not been able to do much in the half-court set today. Most of their points have been in transition, off of fast breaks, and the frustration should probably continue as long as you've got athletic players clogging up the passing lanes like you brought up before, Matt.
Poshew's waiting to check in for the Blue Devils. In the meantime, Randolph with the ball. Picked by Hervey. Pulls up. Gets only 2. His foot was on the line. But knocks it down nonetheless.
when
The
you're down
Devils
by
still up by 13.
when you're down by 15 to Duke, you got to make sure you don't toe the line and cost your team another point that you should have earned.
However, the Eagles are still making an effort to stay in this. The Devils have yet to pull away. Foul on the shot. Ayala, number 12. That's 8 fouls on the Eagles in the half.
Yeah, the refs have really not been shy about blowing the whistle tonight, as the Blue Devils have 9 also.
2 shots on,
So
two fouls on Ayala. Henderson, 1 and 1.
looks like it might be a bit of a ticky-tack game with many fouls being called.
The Devils still yet to miss a free throw.
And last year, if that were the case, you would certainly not be favoring Duke. But this year, with the deep bench that they have, or that they seem to have in the early going, you gotta like it. If the refs are calling a bunch of fouls, Duke should not be afraid because they can go to almost anyone on their bench. They run about 8 or 9 men deep.
Poshus in for McClure. Poshus still yet to miss a shot. 2 for 2 from the field. 1 for 1 from the free throw line. Hervey leads the way for the Eagles in points with 6. Johnson tries to get it in the action, drives it in, out of control, but they call the foul on Henderson before the contact, up at about the elbow. A little hand check. Henderson, his second foul.
And as you look out there and see Duke huddling up after that foul, the one thing that strikes me is just how young this lineup is that's out here right now, and just how young a lot of the lineups are that we've seen out there. You know, you've got 2 sophomores and 3 freshmen, and that's definitely something that's been uncharacteristic of Duke the last couple of years with J.J. Redick and Sean Williams.
Duke now has 10 fouls. Central will be in the double bonus for the remainder of the half.
And Alex, you got to believe if the Blue Devils can produce some success this year, which they seem to be able to, just think of the years to come when these players mature and grow to be successful veterans of this Duke program.
Johnson with his second shot. Johnson short with both free throws.
How many times do you think we're going to see that, Alex, when Josh Roberts and Brian Zubik fight over a rebound? At least they're not fighting with the opponent.
Yeah.
It's a luxury. It certainly is a luxury to have them down low.
Nelson, they try to get the ball to Nelson, but he's hounded by Johnson.
Zubek really having difficulty getting a look down there, as number 32 is
Hervey,
defending the entry pass fairly well.
270-pound Hervey. Poshus with a nice move, drives in, fades away off the glass. Nice soft bank, gets the roll. Poshus still yet to miss from the field. That's, I believe, 7 points for Poshus.
If Poshus can produce like the way he has this first half and the second half of the game against Shaw the entire year, this is going to be a difficult Duke team to beat. Because I don't think a lot of people peg Poshus as being a major contributor to this team, but he certainly is showcasing his ability to be just that.
Offensive foul on Drew Johnson. That is his second foul.
And hopefully the Blue Devils this year are going to be playing with a bit of a chip on their shoulder, as they've been ranked number 11 in the preseason poll, number 2 in the ACC, behind, of course, bitter in-state rival, University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. And this team really, I think, is going to be able to fly a bit under the radar for the beginning of the season.
It's a different approach to the season when you're not ranked number 1, and last year they were kind of like the giveaway national championship. You know, a lot of people thought that let's just play the games as a formality, but we think Duke's going to take it away. And when they didn't, that was a difficult thing to play when you're so far ahead and everyone's gunning for you. And while of course everyone's going to be gunning for the Blue Devils because everyone always does, when you're ranked number 11 in the country, you do have that ability to fly under the radar and stay unnoticed and be the underdog in some games, which is a luxury that the Blue Devils haven't had in past seasons.
Nelson, frustrated with his free throw, was very short, gets his own rebound, lays it in. Zubak gets the rebound, and Shire finishes it for 3. Excellent sequence by the Blue Devils. They extend the lead to 19. The Eagles certainly, at this point, it may be just about to get out of reach.
You know, offensive rebounds on a free throw are rare, but when you have a 7'1" center down there, I don't think it's going to be too uncommon to see Brian Zubik bring some of those down.
And it's good to see the division to kick it out to the wide open John Shire, who has proven himself to be a bit of a dangerous three-point shooter so far.
Another foul by the Devils. Poshus with his second. Again, the Eagles in the bonus, the double bonus.
The Crazies there were disagreeing with the call, telling the referee that, in fact, Marty Poshus does not foul.
Meanwhile, there's a timeout on the floor with 4:57 to go in the first half. The Duke University Blue Devils lead the North Carolina Central University Eagles 39-20. Crazy Towel Guy makes his first appearance of the day, representing the Cameron Crazy contingency. The Eagles, obviously, Alex, looking to regroup here. Coach Dickerson, what do you think Coach Dickerson needs to talk to them about?
I think he's going to tell the squad that they need to finish this half strong and not give away stupid points, easy layups underneath, and just try and basically play physical. Don't be afraid, man up, and work it in. They've been a little stagnant on the offensive end.
Certainly, Alex, these last 5 minutes are going to be huge for the Eagles. It can go one of two ways. The Eagles can either close this gap and go into the half with some momentum, or if they allow the Blue Devils to pull away even more, I don't know how they're going to be able to bring it together in the halftime and come out strong in the second half.
10 free throws so far for the Eagles. Ayala makes 1 of 2. The long rebound comes to Roberson, but manages
And this 5-minute mark and a half is really almost a magic number. The better teams in the country, the upper echelon teams, find a way to put away their opponent during this mark and really just let the air out of the balloon, so to speak, for the opponents. And hopefully the Blue Devils can do that.
Zubik sets a strong pick for DeMarcus Nelson, who gets the ball outside the arc, drives it in. Foul on number 32, Jason Hervey, his first foul. That's something that we haven't seen in a while. Everyone's got at least 2 or 3 fouls at this point. The Eagles now have 11 or 12 fouls. Duke also in the double bonus. The game being called very tight in the first half.
Yeah, certainly. We made a remark about it before, and these referees don't seem to have any fear whatsoever about blowing the whistle, which is fine. They're calling it even on both ends, and you can't really ask for much more out of your officials.
Nelson makes the first. Hervey, with the lane violation, hops into the lane. A little excited there to watch DeMarcus Nelson take a free throw.
And that's another example of an undisciplined play that Coach Dickerson was probably talking about right before halftime.
Maybe a little worried about Zubik beating him to the offensive board, as he did on the last opportunity. 4:45 to go in the first half. Duke leads Central 41-21. Number 12, Ayala, bringing it up to Hervey up at the point, at the top of the key. Robertson looks for someone, gets it into Hervey, almost travels again, but knocks it in from on top of the ACC sign.
And on Brian Zubik, that's about the best shot you're going to get, is a fadeaway mid-range jump shot.
Alley-oop pass from Martinez Poshus. Missed by David McClure, but the offensive rebound by Josh McRoberts makes the reverse layup.
When you got Josh McRoberts on there to clean up your garbage, you're going to get a lot of second chance points.
Roberson to add 2 more points. Certainly the Eagles have not given up, even though they're down by 18 points.
And last year, where Duke was often the victim of second chance opportunities, they appear to be dishing out a fair amount of their own.
McRoberts from the top of the key again. He's 0 for 2 tonight. But that was the shot that you'd let him take, wide open. That, on the other hand, for Drew Johnson, was not what he likes to do.
Down at the other end, though, Alex, with that 3-point shot from McRoberts. I don't know if Shire's just being, a freshman, worried about taking too many shots, being a ball hog, so he decided to pass it off to his captain there. But I think if I'm a betting man, I'd rather have Shire taking that 3-point shot than McRoberts.
Shire 2 for 4 tonight from the 3-point line. McRoberts 0 for 2. Timeout on the floor. 3:32 to go. 43-25 Duke leads.
And I would think Coach K might be telling Josh McRoberts that it's time to stop shooting 3-pointers and maybe a little dribble penetration and taking it to the rack, as he should be doing as a 6'10" forward, basically overmatching everyone on the other team.
Interesting so far, Alex. For both teams, the case has been scoring by committee. No one player on either team has really established dominance in this game, but that's not necessarily a negative thing.
No, that's a great thing. We were talking about it earlier, how that just means that you can go so much deeper on your bench when you've got evenly distributed scoring, and that's one thing that the Duke has really been lacking. Coach K has been criticized for riding his stars a little bit too hard in years past, maybe J.J. Redick and Sheldon Williams wearing down once it got to March. But as we see now, when almost everyone who's gotten into the game has scored and you've got 43 points, it's great. No one's over 10 yet.
You see Coach K getting his players in there and drawing up a play for this next possession. And this team, although young, it certainly is showing that they're very cohesive. You know, they are a team. But for them, you know, this is only their second collegiate game, and they're new to this school, but they're certainly playing like they've been together for years.
The 5 players on the floor break their own huddle to Roberson's 2 more free throw shots. Poshu, Spoikin, Thomas, Nelson, and Shire in for the Devils. Excuse me, Ayala, Roberson, Hansley, Johnson, and Hervey in for the Eagles. Knocks in the second. 43-27 with 3:30 to go in the first half.
And Alex, I feel compelled to say it again. When you have 43 points and no one's even broken 8 points personally, that shows you that this team is scoring as a team. And very different from last year when J.J. Redick and Sheldon Williams might have had 41 of those points at this, and we would hear a chance of J.J.'s winning when J.J. Redick had more points than the opposing team. We're not going to be seeing any of that this year.
Amazing. No player in double figures, and while 70 points have been scored so far. The Cameron Crazies bring out the soccer chants of ole, ole, ole. Shire. Nelson thinks about the shot, but decides to drive it in. Shot may have been altered by 6'9" Hervey. Thomas tries to get on the scoreboard, but the foul is called on Brian Ayala. His 3rd foul. Lance Thomas looks to finish off a perfect 10. All 10 players getting into the scoring column in the first half. Quite an accomplishment. I'd say a rare occurrence in college basketball as well as the NBA. They also do so on the first free throw.
You're right, Scott. You know, it just goes back to what I was saying earlier. You don't see this too often, especially out of Duke teams recently. Depth has been an issue, and to see 10 players being able to contribute. And while Thomas is still left off the scoring books for now, you know he's going to get in because he's that good of a player, and he will contribute sooner or later.
Very unfortunate, misses both free throws. Let's talk a little bit about Thomas's history, though, where he comes from.
Lance Thomas out of New Jersey, and actually almost decided to play for the State University of New Jersey, Rutgers University, to play to take his basketball career there. He's a long, athletic fellow, and that's really going to help the Duke Blue Devils because that's something that they've been lacking in recent years. Is kind of that athletic slasher type who can create his own shot from almost anywhere on the floor.
Showed his skills in the blue and white game where he led the blue team in scoring in the second half.
He's certainly versatile. He can beat you from as a driver from the outside, or he can post you up and score from inside.
He actually put on display a bit of his mid-range jump shot in the blue and white game, and that was always good to see. That someone's practicing the lost art of the mid-range jump shot.
Roberson misses the free throw, but Hansley gets the offensive rebound. Jump ball The possession arrow goes to Duke.
Credit the Eagles for getting 2 offensive rebounds there off that missed free throw.
Very surprising.
Yeah, they're definitely not giving up in the early going of this game as we go into halftime. They definitely want to get themselves back into this.
With 2:55 left to go in the first half, the Devils lead the Eagles 43-27. Thomas still tries to get on the scoreboard. He appears to be a little off today. DeMarcus Nelson is certainly not off. He has 2 more points and 1 free throw attempt pending.
Yeah, count the bucket on that one. That was an absolutely great play by DeMarcus Nelson. Good basket, good court awareness to be able to get that rebound, go right back up with it strong, and draw the contact.
We talked about his leadership ability. You saw him finish that difficult basket, and then his 4 teammates came around him, and he led the huddle before they went into the free throw. That's the type of captain that DeMarcus Nelson is.
Nelson completes the 3-point play. The Eagles try to stay in it with the Devils up by 19. Hainsley finishes the layup over the outstretched hand of Josh McRoberts. Shire attempting to get the Devils closer to 50. McRoberts. Nelson. Boykin getting into the action. Backs down. Hervey with the baby hook a little short.
That's a bit of an ill-advised shot for Jamal Boykin, but he comes back on the defensive end. Wow. Almost got a nice steal there.
The Eagles drives it in. Johnson out of control, the referee says. Great play by John Shire to draw the charge. McRoberts inbound the ball. Shire. McRoberts to Shire off the pick. Thought about the shot, then realized there was a hand right in his face.
Take down McRoberts on that point pick.
McRoberts bails out Shire. Shire still with the ball, really wants the shot. But Boykin takes it instead. That shot on the line either is a swish or it looks kind of ugly, guys.
Good to see Jamal Boykin have the confidence to step up and take that shot, though. That's something that we didn't really see him do too much of last year, as he did not get too many touches on the offensive end.
However, that trajectory is not exactly... that trajectory can be deadly if used properly.
And Boykin, though, he is certainly a fan favorite, and if he can get some points on the board, he is going to get this crowd into every single game that he does that. And he really pumps his crowd up. He's definitely one of the most energetic and enthusiastic of the players. He really shows his emotions and puts his heart on his sleeve, and this crowd really gets behind him when he does that.
Duke leads, approaching the 1 minute mark left in the first half. 46-29 Duke. Shire again. Errant pass. Boykin tries to save it, but there's no one there to save it too. Eagle ball.
Alex, I'd say that was probably Duke's first blatant error, wouldn't you say? They've been playing some pretty clean basketball throughout today.
Definitely. They've kept the turnovers down, and they only have 4 in this half, which is great compared to NC Central's 12. And when you're turning the ball over a third as often as your opponent, you're probably going to be leading on the scoreboard, and that's what we've seen.
2 points for Warren Roberson. Keeps the Eagles' hopes alive. McRoberts again for 3. Third opportunity short.
Yeah, that was short. You could tell that was going to be short.
30 seconds to go. The Eagles trying to play for the last shot. About a 1 second differential. Game clock to shot clock.
And if the Eagles cut it to 13 here, I think that they are not all that out of it. 13 points, certainly a bit of a mountain to climb, but
not great clock management by Hervey. Takes the shot with 17 seconds to go. Certainly enough time for the Devils to get a second possession.
And that's a silly foul. Like we talked about, Alex, you don't want to go into the half giving Duke any more points than you really have to. And although I'm sure they were frustrated by not getting points on that possession, you don't want to have a stupid foul on Josh Roberts and put him on the line.
You have an opportunity to cut the cut the lead to 17, thinking there's no way you can be down any more than 15. But now you go into the half potentially being down by 17 points. As I say that, McRoberts misses his first free throw. First free throw missed by the Blue Devils.
Yeah, and that's a rare miss from McRoberts from what we've seen tonight. He's converted on his previous 4 attempts, and being 10 of 16 at the line for the team as a whole, pretty encouraging sign.
8 seconds left. The Eagles bring the ball down the court, trying to get something going. High pressure, steal by Duke. That's the end of the first half. Certainly an excellent performance in the first half by the Blue Devils. At halftime, the Blue Devils lead the Eagles 47-31. We'll be back in a couple minutes to speak with Duke University's head line monitor.
The next letter in the alphabet.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for the Harris Teeter family game. We got the Harris Teeter hit card and away in the air.
It's okay, I'll answer that anything. Laura or Maria.
From the Harris team. One of the children will be picking up winner at tonight's game. And the lucky figure selected will win $200 in groceries from Harris Teeter. Be sure and visit the concession stands located throughout Cameron Indoor Stadium. We've got a concessions feature a wide variety from Domino's Pizza to Chick-fil-A. But also refreshing Coca-Cola, the official soft drink of the Big Blue Devils. Start supporting Duke Athletics at the LA. Signed today, the Duke Blue Devils are represented by Duke Athletics and the Devils of Oklahoma. The Junior Blue Devils are kids age 16 and under. For more information, visit us at godu.com or call 999-664-4112.
And we're back with the Duke Blue Devils leading the North Carolina Central University Eagles 47-31. We're here today speaking with our head line monitor. Let's talk a little bit about what you do as head line monitor.
As headline monitor, pretty much I'm in charge of the line monitor committee, and we're in charge of preserving the integrity of the line, is how we phrase it. So we make sure that everyone is run fairly, that everyone doesn't cut, etc., and to fit as many people as humanly possible into the space that we're given.
Go ahead.
How do you earn the position of headline monitor?
I have been a line monitor for the past 2 years since I was a sophomore, and then I had to apply and be appointed by the DSG exec board.
Okay. And is it turning out to be more work than you expected, or
A lot.
really?
It's turning out to be a lot more work than I expected.
Really?
Yeah, the idea of being headline monitor is kind of glorified by the students, I think, because they only see you out there doing 10 checks and doing all the really fun things. You don't so much always think about all the administrative things that go on to get all the stuff done that we do, and so it's still a lot of fun, but it's definitely a little bit more work than I expected.
Now, it's still the early going in the season. Are you worried about when Duke's playing UNC, and certainly more people are going to try and pack themselves in here, and the lines get more hectic?
I've done it for the past 2 years, so I'm used to like the hecticness of the line. I don't think that's a problem. We usually handle that kind of stuff pretty well. It's just we always do our best to fit as many people in as we can, and do what's best for the student body as a whole. So that's our goal.
On a lighter note, do you have a favorite player this year on the Duke team?
You mean aside from the sixth man?
Yes, of course.
I don't know about this year. We have a very new team. My overall favorite player ever would probably have to be Trajan Langdon, but he's a few years older than us, so it's okay.
Well, a throwback. I definitely like that. Definitely a respectable answer.
Duke fan my whole life. You got to give it up to the guy with the prettiest three-point shot in college basketball.
Do you have high expectations for this team, or what do you look for?
Yeah, I have high expectations every year. It's Duke. You got to hope for the best and just go with the flow.
So that's one of the qualities of a sixth man that you need every time, right?
Something that we try and inspire in everyone else. Be loud and be passionate.
Have there been any early season problems so far?
Not as of yet. The fans have been really great. They've been really working with us really well, and I think that we're going to have some great new Cameron Crazes in this freshman class.
We had Elliot up here on Thursday, Elliot Wolf, the DSG president, and he talked about how the fire marshal has really been cracking down on the fire regulations and making sure that there are people in the places that they should be, and eliminating, for now anyway, the front row. What has been your reaction to that so far?
I mean, obviously you can see a difference, especially from a bird's eye vantage. You can see there aren't people standing on the ground behind the press. So people have been really accommodating. They've, been really good about it. So we kind of have to work within the regulations we're given. We don't always have that much of a choice with the rules that are set down for us by the county. So you got to do the best with what you got. And as of right now, we're doing really good. And we got a really packed student section. So it's really great.
Well, Mayor, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
And we hope to have you maybe again soon sometime.
That'd be great. And everyone should come to games and tent. It's amazing.
All right. We'll be right back after these messages again. Duke leads Central at halftime, 47-31. We'll be right back to talk about the first half in a few moments.
I was like, I love answering the questions.
Welcome back to Cameron Indoor Stadium, where the Blue Devils lead today 47-31 over the NCCU Eagles. Let's talk a little bit about the first half, Alex and Matt. First of all, the rebound advantage, very, very surprising. 16 rebounds for the Blue Devils, 17 for the Eagles. A team who has only one player within 3 inches of Brian Zubek's size, out-rebounding the national powerhouse Blue Devils.
You know, you're right about the rebounding advantage, how it is going to NC Central right now, but you got to look at what these teams are doing off of those rebounds, and as you can see, Duke has 13 points off of second chance opportunities, and NC Central only has 4, so I think that's a really telling statistic about what, not only that you're getting rebounds, but what you do after you get it.
Yeah, and we talked about at the beginning of the broadcast NC Central's ability to take care of the ball, and right now they have 13 turnovers to the Blue Devils 4, and that is a big indicator of why this game is out of hand right now. And if NC Central is going to want to get back into this, they're going to have to be more successful taking care of the rock.
Absolutely. So far, the turnovers, the Blue Devils have caused 13 turnovers and have 6 steals total. So that's obviously what's keeping them in the game.
Yeah.
Would you say so?
Absolutely. I think another key you got to look at is how Josh McRoberts has really been having a pretty good all-around game, I would say. He's got 9 points, 7 rebounds. He's distributing the ball pretty well. He has missed 3 3-pointers. I guess you could kind of look at that as a negative, but I think that he's been playing really well for the Devils.
No, you said earlier that probably the only place where he can't make a shot maybe is the free throw line, and that certainly was very true of you to say going off of last year's stats, but here we see him, he's 5 for 6 from the line now, and if he can keep that type of production up from the free throw line later on into the season, that's going to be huge for the Blue Devils.
Today, the three-point line has replaced the free throw line for Josh McRoberts, 0 for 3 from the three-point line. But I think we'll certainly take an 0 for 3 night from the three-point line if we can replace that with a nearly perfect night from the free throw line. We've got about a minute before we're going to go back down to the court. Let's talk a little bit more about the balance on the Duke Blue Devils team. I know we've talked about that a lot, but the only player in double figures for either team is DeMarcus Nelson with 10 points. So certainly something that needs to be discussed and brought up.
Yeah, this scoring distribution is going to be a trend, I think, that we're going to be able to see for the Blue Devils throughout the season. They've got a lot of weapons on offense. They can really beat you. They've been showing tonight they can beat you from almost anywhere on the floor, especially with John Shire wetting those 3-pointers like he's been doing recently.
Yeah, after the game against Shaw on Thursday, Coach K said that the team was very balanced, and that that's definitely going to be something that we see later on to the season, and it's going to be really the thing that brings down a lot of Duke's opponents this year is that who do you cover? Who do you stop when they can score with 10 different players at any given point in time?
So far for the Eagles, leading the way is number 24, Warren Roberson, a non-starter, comes out for the Eagles, shooting lights out. Well, from 50% from the field, 3 of 6, 2 of 3 from the free throw line. The same as last game against Shaw. I believe it was Abagnale, number 4 for the Shaw Bears, came out just shooting lights out and scored 17 points, leading the way for the Bears. Shire comes out, gets hammered in the corner.
And that's just one of those fundamental mistakes that NC Central has seemed to be making throughout the first half. You never want to foul a good jump shooter, especially not beyond the arc, because there's a chance that he can beat you with a 4-point play.
Ayala arguing.
Yeah,
certainly nothing to argue about that one.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know what type of case you make to the referee when John Shire's lying on the ground.
That was 3 shots for John Shire. Knocks down the first casually.
Alex, we talk a lot about the void that J.J. Redick and Sheldon Williams left here after their graduation, and that seemed like a very J.J.-esque play, taking it from the corner and getting fouled. Maybe J.J. would have put that one in, I guess, but, he's just a freshman and it's still early.
We've seen teams make that mistake for the last 4 years, fouling J.J. Redick, and he has come back to really punish them from the free throw line with his unbelievable free throw shooting percentages.
Absolutely, and if Shire can make this third one.
12 of 18 from the line so far.
Should have let him take the 3.
Randolph. You've got Hervey, Randolph, Roberson, Johnson,
That was a great pass to Brian Zubek there.
And then number 12, Brian Ayala for the Eagles. Henderson short on the 3. Rebound, McRoberts. That's his 8th rebound of the night. And puts it home. Certainly everywhere tonight, Josh McRoberts.
And that's just another example of Josh McRoberts absolutely crashing the boards as he drove in from the foul line or from the 3-point line as soon as that shot went up, and he knew he was going to get that rebound from the second he took off.
Stay tuned to Cable 13 for Iron Dorm Chef, followed by an interview with Anthony Rapp and Orchun's Top 5 Countdown. Shire to Nelson. Nelson, his defender, comes off of him as he's looking for the pass. Zubek hasn't gotten much into the action so far. Shire tries to make the wraparound pass.
A rare Duke turnover there.
Yeah, despite the bad pass there by Shire, you could see how much the Eagles respect his three-point shot as 2 defenders came out to try and stop him.
5 turnovers so far for the Duke Blue Devils. Number 25, Billy Wilson, a starter, but just now getting onto the scoreboard with his first shot and first 2 points. Foul on 24, Roberson, the second foul already of the half with just 2 minutes into the period.
Yeah,
Duke leading 52-35.
This is not the start that I'm sure Central wanted, giving Duke some enthusiastic baskets like to Josh McRoberts and the earlier shot from DeMarcus, I believe it was, or no, Shire's three free throws, and then these fouls. This is not how Central's going to get back into the game. They're really going to have to tighten up on defense if they're going to see any success this second half.
Certainly, we didn't discuss this at halftime, but really impressive that Central has managed to keep up with the Blue Devils with the lead only at, what is it, 15 at half? I mean, from a Division II school, keeping up with the 11th ranked preseason team in the nation is quite impressive, and something, even if they lose tonight by quite a margin, that's something that they can definitely hang their hat on in their future games. Losing to Mountain State by 15 points, and then you come out here and are only down 15 at the half.
But certainly true, Scott. But I'm sure, as Coach Dickerson would agree with me if he's running a good program, that it's not good to start hanging your hat on losses. You want to start hanging your hat on wins, and I don't think he's going to be happy here with anything but a win. Doesn't really look like he's headed down that road right now, though.
Close only counts on horseshoes and hand grenades.
Absolutely.
Of course. 24, Roberson. 2 shots.
And bocce ball, I believe, close also counts in.
Bocce ball.
Yes.
Little known sport.
Closeness is awarded in bocce ball.
Definitely affected by the Cameron Crazies. That could be the first time I've ever seen a player that affected.
And that's embarrassing.
That is absolutely a perfect example of how he is flustered. Number 24, Warren Roberson, misses both free throws, but the long rebound, goes to Steve Randolph. The air ball bug is becoming contagious for the Eagles, and the virus, once the virus starts, sometimes it's pretty tough to get the vaccination.
Hey, you got to give the Eagles credit for getting these rebounds on the offensive end, but, I mean, you got to hit something when you put a shot up, especially when you're down by nearly 20 points.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nelson to McRoberts. Henderson. Foul on Hervey. Henderson with 2 shots. Jason Hervey, the 6'9" senior center from Arlington, Texas, went to James Bowie High School.
Yeah, Alex, if the Eagles continue their current streak of a foul per minute here, they're going to find themselves in a whole lot of trouble as the second half continues.
Yeah, this team has shown that the Blue Devils, that is, that they can make foul shots.
4 of the 5 starters on the floor for the Eagles have 3 fouls
Of course,
already.
I say that Gerald Henderson bricks a foul shot, but
Hey,
no matter.
Henderson, in fact, missed both free throws. Number 25, Billy Wilson, rattles in the 3-point shot to stay close. 16-point lead.
Their first one of the day.
Billy,
First 3-point make of the day for NC Central.
Billy Wilson comes out in the second half going 2 for 2, 5 points.
Yeah, Alex, up until that point, the Eagles had as many 3-point makes as Josh McRoberts. Big goose egg.
That's never a stat you can be comfortable with.
3 offensive rebounds, but no points for the Blue Devils. Same goes for the Eagles. Shire brings up the court fast. McRoberts takes it from the baseline with authority.
Thunderous.
Slams it home, no question about that one.
Thunderous is how I would describe that.
Two-hand flush.
Zeus-like.
You're either brave or very dumb when you try and get in the way of Josh Roberts as he barrels down the lane to try and put that one home.
Yeah, none of the Eagles tried to stop that dunk.
Certainly not. Maybe that might have been the smarter thing to do.
And that dunk, I'm sure, not only exciting the fans here at Cameron, but also exciting NBA scouts across the country who are probably paying very close attention to Josh McRoberts and how he's going to be doing this season.
Something that needs to be watched as the Blue Devils start to face more difficult competition is when McRoberts decides to dunk and when he decides to take the layup. Last year, one of the problems was McRoberts came in from his high school experience just expecting to be able to dunk over anyone and everyone. And against teams like North Carolina, he found himself being rejected multiple times.
Wow, what a pass. What a pass.
McRoberts, the no-look over the shoulder to Lance Thomas. All 10 players who have been in the game are now on the scoreboard for the Blue Devils. Timeout on the floor. Timeout, Central University, 15:47 to go. Duke leads by 20 now. They have extended the lead to 20 points, 58-38.
I'll tell you what, I'm giving my game ball to Josh McRoberts right now. He has been playing absolutely unbelievable. An efficient 13 points on 4 of 7 shooting. He's got 5 of 6 from the free throw line, 8 rebounds, and a bevy of unbelievable passes.
A bevy.
Really? You're going to give out the game ball with still near 16 minutes left in the second half, Alex?
There are a lot of points to be scored.
I don't know about all that. I mean, we saw, if you're going to do that early, like in the last game, Martinez Pochas isn't even in the running, and he scores 12 points in the last 10 minutes of that game. So I don't know if I'm going to give my game ball away that quickly. But certainly, McRoberts is playing one hell of a game out here. And, we definitely saw those creative passes last year out of the captain. But this year, he's definitely more unselfish. It goes back to what Scott was saying. Last year, he was accustomed to being a dominant scorer, and when he ran into competition that could stop him, he really didn't seem to have an answer for it. And now he's doing smart layups and creative passes to really get his team involved there with Lance Thomas' first points of the game.
Coach Henry Dickerson taking this opportunity to corral his troops, hopefully hoping to, within the next 5 minutes or so, cut the lead down to maybe 10 to make this a manageable lead in the closing minutes that they could potentially overcome.
Yeah, in basketball, 10 points is kind of that magic number where if you get a lead to 10 or under 10, that's a bit more manageable than what it is now, which is 20, which it just seems like a mountain to climb for NC Central.
In for the Devils, Thomas, McRoberts, Nelson, Shire, and McClure. Foul called on the Marcus Nelson, pushing on Jeffrey Hansley. Timeout once again, official timeout. 15:45 to go, 58-38 still. Let's take this opportunity to talk.
Well, Scott, if I may, 58-38. That lends itself to today's football score, which is Navy defeated the Duke Blue Devils on the gridiron 38-13 today. With their impressive option attack from the midshipmen, they had close to 400 yards on the ground. And now the Blue Devils stand at 0-9 on the season.
The Devils continue to excel in everything they do. Losing well, winning well. Duke University prides itself on being the best at everything it does.
However, you say so, Scott. You say so.
I don't really know if the university is priding themselves on this football team. We now have the longest active Division 1A losing streak, which is standing at 17
We
games.
extended that streak today, which was excellent. If you guys were at the game, when I was there, I noticed, I think, Matt, you were talking about this earlier, they only threw 4 passes the entire game. They completed one of them for a touchdown.
Navy did, yeah.
Navy's option attack is just run, and when you have different, you can go different ways, pitch the ball, keep the ball, and then the defense really starts loading up the box and coming towards the line of scrimmage, and then you just decide to pass, and no one's by the receiver, which is what happened. They had one completion after 3 quarters, and it was a 19-yard touchdown, and so that's what the option can do to you, and clearly that's what it can do to the Blue Devils.
Back on the floor. The football team attempts to end that losing streak next Saturday against Boston College at Boston College. 2 points cuts the lead to 18. Shire, McRoberts, Nelson, Thomas, and McClure for the Devils.
Earlier in the game, guys, we were talking about how the Devils have a bit of a turnstile, a rotating door going on a revolving door rather at the point guard position. Today, though, it looks like Shire's been shouldering the majority of the load.
He really has. Against Shaw, we saw McRoberts bring the ball up a lot, and hasn't been that way so much now. But he certainly is in that kind of awkward position, if you ask me, where he is 6'9" out on the 3-point arc. But then with his creative passing, he's able to do what he just did, which is get the ball into Lance Thomas underneath the basket. So maybe that's where Coach K really wants him.
Hansley, Johnson, Randolph, Roberson, and Wilson in for the Blue Devils. Lance Thomas continues to struggle tonight. He's missed all 3 of his free throws.
And struggling for a freshman, that's something we're going to be seeing throughout the season from Lance Thomas and the other 3 freshmen, because that's what they are. They're new to this collegiate game, and they're going to have off nights, and that's just part of the growing experience. And Duke's going to have to be ready for that if they're going to be able to succeed this year.
At the same time, though, you don't like to see him struggling from the foul line, which is a position where he should be very familiar with, especially as a big man.
Randolph, Roberson tries to get into Hansley, guarded by McClure. Over McRoberts, air ball. Outlet pass. Try to pick up the tempo as Nelson knocks it back to McRoberts to reset the offense. Shire, Nelson takes it. Misses. Randolph tries to keep the pace going, but throws an errant pass. Shire with the no-look pass. Another no-look pass for McRoberts, but McClure misses the layup, but does get the foul.
Shire looked like a defensive back from the NFL who jumped the route on that play. He absolutely came out of nowhere and sniped that pass.
They did a great job. We talked about him taking on the burden of the point guard. He came down and led that fast break quite well.
McClure now. 2 shots.
McRoberts from that position. Last year we would have seen him probably attempt to go up and dunk it, but unselfishly whipped a nice pass to McClure. Gave him the opportunity to maybe even get 3 points if the layup had fallen.
I think McRoberts is now really starting to realize that he can get just as big a cheers from a nice crazy pass as a nice crazy dunk.
I think also McRoberts probably values his team winning more than some crazy cheers, but
Absolutely.
Certainly, I think he's realized though that this team's going to win not from him maybe getting a charge on trying to extend himself on a difficult dunk, but rather a good pass to a teammate for an easy lay-in.
Number 25, Billy Wilson tries to take the 3 but misses. 21 points, the Blue Devil lead with 14:06 to go. McRoberts gets it low to Thomas, who misses the layup. Still, Lance Thomas 1 for 4. Missed 2 of those layups that don't count on the stat sheet when he was fouled. Both arguably makeable.
Yeah, Lance Thomas has had a bit of a rough going here in this game. Hasn't really been doing much. He's missed his signature mid-range jump shot a couple times in the first half. Hasn't been able to convert on layups. And, of course, as we talked about, only 1 for 4 from the foul line, which is never a good sign.
You can see the frustration on his face as he missed
Absolutely.
that last shot.
We've now got 4 players in double figures, 1 for Central and 3 for Duke. McRoberts with 13, Nelson with 12, Shire with 11. Shire again performing admirably in the absence of Greg Paulus. Jason Hansley, again a non-starter, leading the way with 10 points for the Eagles. Thomas again, long with the free throw. He's now 2 for 6 from the line.
But there you have it again, a nice heads-up play. Josh McRoberts able to save the ball and keep it Blue Devil possession off that missed foul shot.
The ball has been in this end for five minutes, real time.
Lance Thomas getting absolutely mugged down there by his defender.
Foul off the ball
On Lance Thomas.
on Lance Thomas.
I disagree with that. Lance Thomas had his jersey getting grabbed by number 4. That is not a good call. I don't think the ref saw everything that happened on that play. Because
May have been
Lance
called.
Thomas was provoked.
May have been called for retaliation there. Number 42 with 2 fouls.
Alex, you know my prediction, 6 minutes into this game, and the Eagles have 6 fouls. I don't know, it'll be very difficult for them to win this game or even get back into it if they continue that trend.
Yeah, one more ticky-tack foul, and the Devils are going to be headed to the line for a 1-on-1.
As much as the Devils are balancing points, the Eagles are balancing fouls.
This could be exciting.
Or not, but it's okay because Shire takes the 3, a little short.
I really thought McRoberts was going to go up for the dunk there, but
Because that's what you expect from McRoberts as a freshman,
But
right?
because he's developed, he's matured, he makes that extra pass that he wouldn't have made last year. Again, actually back to what I was saying, the balance in points only rivaled by the balance in the Eagles' fouls, with 6 players have 3 fouls for the Eagles. No one has more than 3, but
That's teamwork.
certainly not something that
Lance Thomas'
The Eagles wanna have
shooting
happen.
woes continue. 2 for 6 from the line and only 1 for 4 from the field. Ouch.
Eagles try to get back in it. Chris Mashak in for the first time for the Eagles. Tries to get something going. However, McClure with the steal and the easy finish. Drew Johnson, who has not gotten into the action much tonight, slows down the game and tries to make something happen for the Eagles. Johnson.
And I don't mean to belabor the fact that Lance Thomas is not having a great game, but that's one thing to look at, these freshmen, how they respond to the growing pains that they're inevitably going to have this year, because you know they're going to be there. As a freshman, it's just too difficult to come in and excel right away. Even Greg Paulus, who was, the consensus, one of the best freshmen in the ACC last year, had his fair share of growing pains in the beginning of the season.
Yeah, Alex, but then you take a look at this talented freshman class, and you see that it's going to be a rare sight for all of them to have an off night. And this team is so deep that even if 2 or even 3 of them, come out and perform badly in a game, they have a deep enough bench that they can make up for that.
Johnson again slowing down the game. Mass substitutions at the scorer's desk for the Blue Devils. Zubek, Nelson, Boykin, and Henderson ready to come into the game. Johnson carries the ball. Johnson really trying to make something happen right now as the Eagles are down by 22 points, 64-42 with 11:34 to go in the second half.
And, the mark of a truly great team is, can they get big shots on big possessions? And the one thing that I fear is that Duke is not going to be faced with many critical possessions in the early going of the season, because this offense, it looks stagnant from time to time. We're not really sure if they're going to be able to get the clutch basket that they need when they need it, as we saw them, go to J.J. Redick last year when they were in that kind of situation.
Yeah, certainly, Alex. Take a look at the Blue Devils' schedule, and you don't really have any warm up. You play 13-15 at home against kind of easygoing teams, and then as soon as you come into the ACC and you take on a team like Wake Forest, or you take on a team like North Carolina, it'll be tough for the Blue Devils to react to that shock of playing a much more competitive team. Because you're right, you see them out here, and you see them that while they're winning by 22, they have had their struggles, and if they're going to be able to eliminate those once they play the big guns.
The Devils up by 22 now, 11:34 to go in the game. The Devils come onto the floor, having made their mass substitution. Poshus, Henderson, Nelson, Zubak, Boykin, all 5 different players subbed into the game. As well for the Eagles, number 0, Joshua Worthy comes in for the first time for the Eagles. Hansley, Hervey, Johnson, and Roberson round out the rest of the Eagles lineup. Johnson.
That, Alex, was Marty's first miss of the day, which is a good thing to be able to say with nearly 10 minutes left in the game.
Hervey gets the ball stolen from Zubek in the open court. Poshus with the left-hand layup and the foul. He takes it with authority. Definitely, there was no doubt about the fact that the ball was going in there. Marty wanted to put it in, and he did.
Thank you, sir. May I have another, as we say here.
That's for Marty Poshus. That's 9 points on 4 of 5 shooting, 1 for 2 from the three-point line. This was his first free throw attempt of the evening.
Yeah, Alex, Marty gives you a lot from a lot of different places on the court. He can score to three, he can slash, and he can drive, and he can also play really good defense. We've seen that out of him too, so he's a very versatile and very well-rounded player.
And you look at this roster, and this roster is absolutely loaded with versatile players. With you talk about DeMarcus Nelson being able to handle the ball as well as being able to play the slasher position. Gerald Henderson basically going to want to be playing the same position also, that slasher role, someone who can hit a three, who can play great defense, and who can finish, who can draw contact on an open layup like Marty Poshus just did.
Ticky-tack hand check foul called on DeMarcus Nelson. His 4th foul forces him to come out. Shire comes in for the Blue Devils. Hervey pivoting around looking for someone to pass to. The ref's starting to call it even extra tight. Zubek with another called again for the hand check foul, possibly the arm bar.
You like to see that, though, out of your sophomore Marty out there. He is
absolutely
one of those players on the court with 3 freshmen out there, and as the refs start calling these questionable calls, your team might get out of hand, might get frustrated, and he pulls them in and really keeps them together.
Pochu's also hustling, but makes an ill-advised cross-court pass, looking for Henderson.
And as
Johnson steals.
As scary as it is to say it, Poshus out there probably has the most real game experience of any player who's out there right now for the Blue Devils.
Arguably, you could say that Zubek has the most because of the fact that he played so many minutes in the last 2 games. Shire, Poshus, down to Zubek, who under duress from Hervey, makes a nice layup with the right hand. The lead is 25, 69-44, 10 minutes remaining in the game. Timeout in CCU.
But Alex, back to the fact that now DeMarcus Nelson's on the bench with 4 fouls. Last year you see that happen to the Blue Devils, and you don't really know who replaces him. But now you have John Shire come in, who's already proven himself to be a very good scorer. And that's something that's going to really help the Blue Devils this year.
Absolutely. It's great to know that the Devils have someone who can, in fact, pick up that scoring deficit that occurs when one of your captains, team leader, goes out in foul trouble.
Absolutely. With 9:58 to go, the Blue Devils lead by 25 points. Let's talk a little bit now about maybe the NCCU team and how they're keeping up or they're not keeping up. What would you guys say in terms of their performance tonight?
I think they came in here and they haven't shied away. They have made a few costly turnovers, maybe some fundamental mistakes, but I think that they're just physically outmatched by this Blue Devil team, bigger and more athletic.
Yeah, absolutely. You have a Blue Devil team that's able to do the things that they can do to you. It's difficult, like you said earlier, Alex. You have to pick your poison, and you do have to let Duke do. You have to, give them some areas, and when they exploit you in those areas, it's difficult to come back.
Scrambling for the ball, Marty Poshus comes out with it, out to Henderson, high flying. Gerald Henderson carries the ball, but it was exciting for a moment, folks.
Growing pains.
Yeah, that's a freshman mistake.
Some of the points of emphasis this year by the NCAA Athletics Committee were that the referees were going to call traveling and carrying the ball more frequently than in previous years. Along the line, in the same vein, the NBA has decided to call both of those fouls tighter as well. In the meantime,
I'll believe that when I see it.
Johnson knocks down the shot, the jumper from the free throw line. 69-46, 9:10 to go. Shire to Poshus. Poshus certainly getting active. Into Zubek.
What do you do right now? What do you do? You can't do anything.
May have shuffled his feet there a bit, but there was a no call.
No, I don't know. I think with Zubek, when you get the ball right there as a defender, no coach can tell you what to do there. There's absolutely nothing you can do to stop someone with Zubek's talent and height from that close in.
Johnson trying to get in the action, takes a three.
We've seen
That's definitely a charging. Not necessarily out of control, but just absolutely rammed Jamal Boykin.
And NC Central has been nothing short of abysmal from beyond the arc tonight. There, I believe 1 for 9, just shooting 11%. I mean, you're not going to win very many games when your three-point game is absolutely non-existent.
Boykin, who just drew the charge, comes out. McRoberts in the game for the Devils. So far, many fouls. 23 for the Eagles in 32 minutes of play, 18 for the Devils. 8 in this half for the Eagles, 5 for the Duke Blue Devils. Boykin coming back in the game. They may have not acknowledged the substitution properly, so McRoberts has to go back to the scorer's desk.
And Alex, if Zubek puts in one more basket today, the Blue Devils are going to see yet another game where 5 of their players reach double digits. And I just can't say enough about how beneficial that is for this Blue Devil team, who didn't see anything near that type of production last year, at least not that well balanced. I don't know how opponents are going to be able to match up against a team that can score with 10 different players and in double digits with 5 different players.
It's a very fresh look that these Blue Devils are going to be sporting this year because, as you said, we haven't seen that distribution. We've seen it's basically been, J.J. Redick, Sheldon Williams, and 3 guys named Joe out on the court there for the last couple years.
Jamal Boykin had the least number of points with 2, but now he has 4. Lance Thomas and Jamal Boykin have 4 points.
And when you play a system like that, Alex, those 3 guys named Joe, they're more role players. They fit into certain systems that maybe they're not actually built for or meant for. And now in this type of situation, you can have a John Shire who can be a point guard and shoot threes and drive, and Henderson who can do all the things that he does.
Excellent positioning by Martinez. Poshus draws the charge way out up near midcourt. You can't say enough about Pochus tonight, guys.
He's playing great. But to go back to what you were saying before, we've seen that as a blueprint for other teams who have been very competitive, very good. Last year, you had Florida, who basically had very even scoring distribution. LSU in the same vein. And these are Final Four teams that we're talking about here. So Duke possibly trying to copy off of that and evenly distribute the rock when they get a chance.
I don't think Duke would mind having the same type of success that Florida did last year.
I think that might be acceptable for the Devils this year. McRoberts now finally in the game. Hervey fouls out.
And the crazies let him know.
First player to foul out. Still 2 players for the Eagles with 4 fouls. Randolph almost gets the steal. Out of bounds. Devils. McRoberts calls out the play to be run. Henderson to inbound the ball. Shire up at the top. Wants it. Poshus.
You can see McRoberts came around. He thought he might be able to get open for an alley.
Poshus thought about it from 5 feet out behind the arc, but instead gives it to Shire, who rattles it home. The Duke Blue Devils 3-point shooting tonight. 31%, not exactly a great shooting night, but you have to take into account McRoberts' 3 misses. Besides McRoberts, who fouls number 24.
That's a foul that we saw McRoberts make a lot last year. The unnecessary foul almost after the fact. We saw him do that a couple times last year when he would get beat for a rebound on the defensive end or on the offensive end. He would make a silly foul in the backcourt, and those are mistakes that he's going to have to cut down on this year if the Devils are going to be successful. And also to improve his stock in the NBA lottery because, that's where his mind is.
Absolutely, and we saw last year he was a predicted lottery pick last year, but he decided to come back to Durham, and obviously that's going to benefit the Blue Devils this year as they try and hang up a fourth banner in the rafters of Cameron Indoor. But I don't think it's much of a secret that he's going to go to the NBA after this season, and so Coach K better squeeze out as much as he can out of his young captain.
Certainly high expectations this year. Even as the team's under the radar, you never have a lack of high expectations from Duke men's basketball.
And you can just tell the presence and that Coach K demands as his whole team kind of huddles around him as he calls with the next play out.
Coach K taking this opportunity as a learning experience for all of his players, and particularly with the youth this year, he's going to have to take advantage of these early games as often as possible.
And he's going to have a lot of them. We talked about that, Alex. So there's going to be a lot of games that, while you can look at it in a negative light, that they're not going to see the same type of competition that they're going to see in the ACC and in March. They're going to have a lot of games where they can, get used to each other and get used to playing collegiate ball for those four freshmen. And that's going to be big, I think, later on in the season.
Back into play, Worthy, Johnson, Randolph, Troy Harper gets a couple minutes for the Eagles. For the Devils, Shire, Henderson, McRoberts, Thomas, and Poshus, who claps his hands, tries to draw the charge and does. A bit of a flop by Martinez Poshus, but certainly it was in the right position. Poshus excited out there on the court, making things happen left and right.
Absolutely. He is playing some great defense tonight. We saw that out of him last game, too, where he had a great block near the end of the game, and he just contributes in ways that you don't see on the highlight reel all the time.
Poshus 4 for 5, 1 for 1 from the free throw line, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, and something that doesn't show up on the stat sheet, 2 drawn charges. Shire loses the handle but gets it back. Pushing foul, number 1, Troy Harper. That'd be his first.
We've seen Lance Thomas struggle to get good position underneath the hoop tonight, and actually being called for an offensive foul a few possessions ago. But good to see that the refs give him a call now, and hopefully he can improve his night because he has struggled, to say the least.
Especially from the line. Hopefully he can take advantage of this opportunity.
Certainly he has had plenty of opportunities from the free throw line. Now making his third, but certainly that wasn't a swish by any means. Second shot. Thomas knocks it down. Much more confident stroke on that free throw.
That's encouraging. Going into that, he was 2 for 6 from the line, and he knocks those down. And while they might not have looked the prettiest things ever, I mean, if it goes in the basket, that's usually all that counts.
Yeah, you don't get any style points, especially not on foul shots. As far as I'm concerned, he can shoot it granny style as long as it goes in.
3 for 3, Joshua Worthy.
Granny style is actually, Scott, that's your style of free throw shooting, isn't it? Granny?
It's not the prettiest thing ever, let me tell you. So John Shire comes out. Josh McRoberts back in the game. Oh, I'm sorry. Check that. DeMarcus Nelson back in the game. Randolph looking for some space. Tries to get it in.
Nice pass by number 24.
Tries to get it in to Herbie.
Whole lot of body contact on that one. Looked like McClure had the ball. And then the Eagle had a whole lot of McClure on that one.
McRoberts inbound the ball. 2 players in the corners to spread the court for the Blue Devil offense. High pressure put on by Steve Randolph. Poshus gets it into McRoberts. We haven't seen the offense necessarily run through McRoberts tonight. But that time it
Whoa,
was.
McRoberts and number 4 getting
Little
into it a bit
talking.
down there.
You don't want to see that.
As it looked like McRoberts accidentally bumped him on the way back down the court.
It's okay. They slap hands and presumably make up under the refs urging.
Scott, though, I think we definitely see the offense going through McRoberts a lot, but I agree with you. We haven't seen too many shots from McRoberts, especially from inside the three-point arc, rather. But he's either been from out there or right near the basket, a high percentage.
DeMarcus Nelson 6 for 8 now from the free throw stripe, from the candy stripe. 13 points total tonight. Makes it 14 as the Blue Devils go up by 30 points, 80-50. This game has very quickly gotten out of hand for the Eagles as the Devils open that 30-point lead.
Yeah, you blink twice, and the Devils have doubled their halftime margin of lead.
Although the score didn't say so in the first half, it really seemed like the Devils were playing a pretty solid game. Not many mistakes traveling as we see number 4 Jeffrey Hansley travel.
You know, Alex, though, they certainly have been playing very well in the second half. And we talked about against Shaw how they had very solid defense. I just don't know, though, if 50 points to the NC Central Eagles is really something that you want to see, because, you know, by the end of this game they could end up with 60, and that's like a margin that you want North Carolina to have at the end of the game.
Poshu's really feeling it. McClure with the rebound. Possibly a foul on the baby hook
I don't think
attempt.
there's any question that was a foul, especially given the tightness of the game that the officials have called thus far.
Roberson with the pump fake, not bought by McRoberts. McRoberts certainly not buying what Roberson was selling.
Oh, wow. That was
Once again,
that was dirty.
McRoberts
That
takes
was
Roberson to the store.
Dirty.
And that was awful. That pass.
The Eagles are
Straight to the cheerleaders.
the Eagles are falling apart at the seams.
Yeah,
Certainly didn't get their clothes.
when you don't even get a shot off out of a 3-on-1 fast break, you know it's not your night.
The crazy's not afraid to let them know that you can't pass.
Roberson comes
Harsh.
out for the Eagles.
Harsh but true on that particular possession.
That certainly deserved.
The Crazies continue to be enthusiastic as Steve Randolph extends the Eagles' pressure to full court. Poshu's looks for the backdoor cut on Thomas, but gives it to Zubek, who has been having trouble lately with the short layup. We've seen that in both games, both exhibition games. Zubek has been in position to finish those layups, although the stats don't necessarily show it. He's been having trouble finishing those layups from 3 feet and in.
He already has to jump there, Alex. It looks like he's on a playground in kindergarten, but he's 18 years old playing with the little kids out there, just not even having to jump. He just grabs the ball and puts it right back in with ease.
So it's surprising that he doesn't just dunk it home in those situations.
Certainly. And in the blue-white scrimmage, we saw Zubek
Yeah, absolutely.
displaying a very nice touch around the basket, especially when being covered by Josh McRoberts. But so far through the first 2 exhibition games, I don't really think you can say that he's been showing the same touch. He's been missing some of those short shots, and that one he barely got to fall, where that, I think, would have been a swish in the blue-white game.
Yeah, you definitely see it's kind of the same parallel that we were making earlier with Lance Thomas and how he's not really having his night tonight, but that's something, the freshman roller coaster season that they're going to have, just because they are new to the collegiate scene, and once they get a little more experience under their belt, just in these first couple of games, that's what these exhibition games are for, and I'm sure we're going to see.
Poshu's showing his athletic ability. Poshu's is on fire tonight. I don't think I've seen this from Marty Poshu's since he's been a Blue Devil. Certainly, he comes around. He comes around the backside, finishes it with the right hand. Silky smooth. At the same time, Lance Thomas makes a very ill-advised pass.
Ill-advised pass by Lance Thomas there.
Hervey. Thomas tries to make up for it by blocking it, but misses it.
See, Alex, this is why I don't give my Game Ball award away quite so easily. I honestly think that Marty Poshu's is making quite the case for it right now. And while Josh McRoberts has performed quite well today, I like to see Marty out there doing his thing, and he has done it quite well today.
As the swing vote, I will withhold my decision till later on
I
in
haven't given it away. I certainly haven't
in
given
the
it away.
contest.
I'm going to hold out until the end of this game. Unlike our friend Quick Draw McGraw over here, Alex Hardy.
Both players certainly making a good case. Both giving the crowd a lot to cheer about, and no matter who the quote-unquote game ball goes to, it's got to be encouraging for Blue Devils fans to see that two of their sophomores are really stepping up to the plate.
All right, but yeah, interesting enough, although we mentioned both of those players, the two players leading in the scoring column tonight are DeMarcus Nelson and John Shire, both with 14 points. They both have to be in the mix when you're talking about the player of the game.
Well, you have to be excited about the fact that there is such a debate over this player of the game. I think last year it was either J.J. Redick or Sheldon Williams, and you basically could just pick one out of a hat before the game started, and then you might, had a 50-50 shot. This year it's going to be a toss-up between any number of players, and it could easily be someone who comes off the bench, which is something that we haven't seen at all in the past seasons.
Poetry is a perfect example of that. 3 minutes to go. The Blue Devils lead 84-54 over the North Carolina Central University Eagles. The Eagles at this point have 10 team fouls. The Blue Devils will be in the double bonus for the remainder of the period. The Devils have committed 8 fouls this half, and any more fouls will result in a 1-and-1 from the Eagles. Stay tuned for Cable 13 after the game for the interview with host Kristen Manderscheid. 9 p.m. Iron Dorm Chef, followed by an interview with Anthony Rapp, and again Orchune's top 5 countdown. Make sure you don't miss that. Also, stay tuned for Cable 13's exclusive broadcast of the regular season game against UNC Greensboro on November 16th. I can't speak for the two of you, but I've been really honored to have been given this opportunity to broadcast over the Duke airwaves.
Certainly, it's been very exciting, and it should really kick it up a notch, to reference the Iron Dorm Chef that you were talking about. Kick it up a notch in terms of the excitement when we see Duke actually play a game that will go into either the win or loss column.
And against their first Division I opponent, at least that we'll see, against UNC Greensboro, just an hour away.
Absolutely. Timeout on the floor once again, 2:39 to go in the game. The Devils still lead by 30 points.
And Alex, in previous years, the Spartans from Greensboro really have been a decent team, and they made it to the postseason playoffs a number of times, and they've been the Cinderella a couple times with first-round upsets. So they're going to be a decent team for the Blue Devils to play.
Yeah, they're no stranger to wearing the glass slipper, as we say, but certainly Duke hopes to crush the glass slipper, and I think that they shouldn't have too much trouble doing that. They're going to be, as we've berated, or as we've brought up before, they're going to be physically outmatching almost every opponent they take on.
I'm going to try to make sure they don't get cut when they're crushing that slipper. However,
it can be dangerous.
Glass is dangerous.
But I don't think there's going to be any fairy tale ending at the end of that game.
But first things first, the next game for the Duke Blue Devils comes up against Columbia, November 12th, Sunday.
Yeah, and
Cameron Indoor Stadium on ESPNU. It starts at 8:30. Tip-off time is at 8:30.
If this was an academic decathlon, maybe Columbia would have a chance, but I don't really like their odds coming in here, as they have not really ever been known as any form of powerhouse basketball team.
No, certainly not. When you think Ivy League basketball, you think Princeton as the standout team there, but Columbia a couple seasons ago, the Lions were winless in both football and basketball in the same season. And while they've made some improvements since then, at least getting a couple wins here and there, I don't think it's going to be too easy for the Blue Devils to roll over them.
Gerald Henderson makes the first free throw with 2:33 to go, extending the Blue Devils' lead to 31. Henderson, second shot. He's now 3 for 6 from the free throw line. Also was struggling from the free throw line before those 2 shots. Johnson, the proverbial star for the Eagles, certainly finally coming into his own by the end of the game, leads the team in scoring with 14.
We get to see Davidson come in here too.
Yeah, I was going to say, in the dwindling minutes, we see the sophomore was walk-on last year. Jordan Davidson bringing up the ball.
Henderson to Thomas. Thomas wide open, tries to dunk it.
Who does that remind you of, Alex? I think that looks a little bit like...
that's a Josh
Absolutely
McRoberts.
like McRoberts last year.
Josh
The same
McRoberts
thing.
freshman move.
Determined to dunk it. Doesn't realize that there are athletes out there on almost every team that they will face this year that can stop that.
And you just hope that the sophomore captain in McRoberts will be able to look at that and tell Thomas, the things he's learned, the things that he's matured over the last year, and really help Thomas come into his own this season.
To a certain extent, they both have the same body type in terms of their lankiness, their approach to the game. Lance Thomas tonight, again, both McRoberts, Nelson, and Nelson all have at least 6 free throws. Thomas 4 for 8 on the night. 4 for 9 now, I'm sorry.
Oh wow! Oh, Zubek got clocked in the face on that rebound there.
5th foul on number 24, Warren Roberson.
He's a big boy, though, Alex. Just a bug bite.
Knocks him out of the game. At least in terms of the Cameron, in the Cameron Crazy's eyes. However, it appears that he only has 4 fouls, so I believe the Cameron Crazy's announcement was a little premature.
And that's Zubek's first free throw attempt of the day, which is something that, I don't know, at least not I expected. Someone who plays underneath the basket and is so tall, you expect to draw more fouls.
Yeah, that's somewhat discouraging. That means either that Duke isn't running their offense through Zubek, or that Zubek just really isn't getting very many quality looks underneath the hoop.
Especially in a tightly called game like this, you'd expect him to be put on the line at least a few times.
Even as we talk about Zubek, we don't. Ooh, nice move, but they call it on the floor. The basket appears to not count.
It did.
Did they count it? Yes, one shot. They counted it.
We hear chants for the walk-on Steve Johnson to be put in the game, as we have a minute 38 left.
Drew Johnson with 18 points tonight for the Eagles.
And let's not forget the other walk-on this year, Nick Sutton.
Of course.
We saw the two of them get into the game late against Shaw, and while we're probably not going to see too much of them in the regular season, at least not in the ACC schedule, it's comforting to know that they're there and that they have the ability to come in and take the load off some of these more talented players.
Yeah, this looks like it's this will be their last good opportunity to get in.
As we were talking,
because Coach K not really known to go to the bottom of his bench during the regular season.
As we say, Zubek, or earlier we were saying that Zubek really hadn't had many quality opportunities or hadn't gotten any action. He actually is tied for the leading scorer tonight with 14 points. So he quietly scores 14. Not a bad night. Now 5 players, again, still in double figures for the Blue Devils. Henderson a little long with the jump shot. Johnson on the on the fast break.
I'm sure they drew it up just that way, too.
I don't think that was intentional, Matt or Alex. That second pass off the glass. Davidson loses the ball.
Oh!
Johnson misses the dunk, but gets his own rebound to the jeers of the crowd.
Wow.
Oh, that's kind of embarrassing. Let's be honest there.
Atrocious.
With 36 seconds left.
There's airballing a free throw, and then there's getting rejected by the rim, and I don't know.
30 seconds.
I just don't know if you can embarrass yourself more.
30 seconds to go to the game. Duke leads 90-62.
Dr. James Naismith is rolling over in his grave.
Oh, is he ever?
Foul number 0, Joshua Worthy. His 4th foul. For the last 30 seconds, number 33, Tremaine Holloway will get his first minutes. Freshman forward from Rocky Mount, North Carolina. Davidson trying to get on the scoreboard, and does. Great to see. We now have 11 scorers now. 11 players with points.
Yeah, and it's great to see Davidson get on the scoreboard, but we saw at the other end why he is not being counted on to shoulder the burden of the point guard position as he had a somewhat careless turnover in the backcourt.
I think he may have been relying on the fact that they couldn't dunk the ball, though. So maybe he was just expecting the defense to get back sooner to get that failed miss.
15 seconds left. Johnson tries to get a couple more points for the stat sheet. Foul called on Zubak.
Circus shot right there.
Creative layups now that the Eagles are resorting to as he goes with the left-handed over the shoulder.
Not
no
even
look.
Looking at anything, really.
I think Johnson just trying to draw the foul there. Johnson has emerged as the standout in terms of scoring with 20 points. Walk-on Steve Johnson into the game to the loud roar of Brian Zubak. Zubak tonight finishes with 14 points, 2 assists, 5 rebounds on 6 of 8 shooting from the field and 2 of 2 from the free throw line. Not so bad of a night.
Not shabby at all. He was bogged down in foul trouble, as we see he just fouled out. But yes, I mean, 14 points, you can't really complain. Tied for the high score on the team right now.
And hey, if you're going to foul out, no better time than with 10 seconds left in the game,
Yeah,
up by 30.
To a standing ovation from the crowd, who was already standing. Ball inbound to the Duke Blue Devils. That should about do it. Steve Johnson to inbound the ball. Pressure, but Henderson holds the ball. Johnson to the uproar. Will run out the clock. Thomas finishes at the buzzer, and it will count. Maybe something that Krzyzewski doesn't necessarily want to see. Wants to normally see the ball just dribbled out there, but that's something that he'll talk to.
Lance Thomas certainly put an exclamation point on what turned out to be a very lopsided victory for the Duke Blue Devils, winning by 31 points at home, absolutely dominating NC Central in almost every aspect.
Five players get into double figures tonight for the Blue Devils, as well as 11 players score at all. For the Eagles, the leader in scoring was Drew Johnson with 21 points. The final score, 94-63. The Duke Blue Devils beat the North Carolina Central University Eagles. We'll be right back in. Would you like to talk about the game right now?
Yeah, Alex, you talked about all the game. Who's your game ball go to tonight?
I'm sticking to my guns. I'm still giving it to Josh McRoberts. He fantastic game, almost a double-double. Really making great contributions at both ends of the court. We saw his passing, which was absolutely flawless, and we saw him really show a lot more discipline than we've seen him show in at all last year.
I see where you're coming from. I'm gonna go with my underdog, Marty Pocious. We saw a lot out of him tonight that we certainly didn't see at all last season, and that's really encouraging for me to see someone produce like Marty Pocious, who I don't think was really expected to produce much at all this year, at least not on the level that he has so far. So, shout out to Marty Pocious on that.
As the swing vote tonight, I'm going to have to give the nod to Marty Pocious tonight. So, Marty Pocious, player of the game, Cable 13. Let's talk a little bit more before we go about upcoming games and what we hope to see in the first regular season game.
Well, Duke has a fairly cushy schedule coming up. They play 13 of their first 15 games at home. They're going to be heavily favored in almost all of them. They warm up with Columbia. They play against UNC Greensboro. Georgetown at home might be somewhat of a test, but you really think that until the heart of their ACC schedule, this is a team that could easily start off, 10-3, 11-2, 12-1. Really probably going to win a whole bunch of their first few games.
Absolutely, Alex. You take a look at their early schedule, and only Indiana and Georgetown are really perennial basketball programs. So Duke should have an easy ride into January.
Final score tonight, 94-63. Duke Blue Devils beat North Carolina Central University. For Matt Isles and Alex Hardy, I'm Scott McKenzie. So long from Cameron Indoor Stadium.